Hi everyone, hope you're well. So today's case is a disappearance. Straight away I'll just let you know it's going to be a short video. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of information out there on it, but I do find it's an intriguing case, and it's definitely one of the ones that has me thinking like, oh my god, like what happened, you know? And just kind of thinking while I was getting ready, I've never been on a cruise, and I always feel like I'd be afraid to go on a cruise because of the amount of people who go missing, and it's such a, you're kind of just left to the will of the authorities or the staff of of the cruise and stuff. So today's case is not about cruise, but it's probably Ireland's like closest thing to it, which is a ferry. So today's case basically involves a man who goes to work on a ferry. The ferry leaves Ireland and heads to Wales. And when it gets to Wales, he is no longer there. He is no longer on board and cannot be found. This is the disappearance of Michael Farrell. Michael Farrell was born on the 1st of January 1969. He was from Donamead, which is in the north of Dublin. He was married with 3 kids. He was 5'6". He had medium build with blue eyes and sandy hair. He had a mustache. He had a stud in his left ear. He had tattoos on both arms. He had a strong Dublin accent and he smoked loads. Friends and family would say that he had a great sense of humour. He had a very gentle nature. He liked to look good and he, took care of himself. So in 1994, Michael worked for, it's mainly reported as the B&I Ferries, British and Irish steam packet company, was kind of like the parent company. However, I believe in kind of 93 to 94, it was like privatized or whatever, and it became just Irish Ferries. He worked on the ferry company anyway, but I think the company was actually now Irish Ferries. And so he worked on the Isle of Inishmore. I had to look it up because there's kind of a few. There's Innisfree and Inishturk, and there's a few named. So the Isle of Inishmore was built in 1981, and I actually believe in like late 90, I think 95, 96. Like they commissioned a new boat, and that became the Isle of Inishmore, and then the Isle of Inishmore became the Isle of Inishturk. And then there's also mention of Isle of Innisfree. But the one he was on in September 1994 was the Isle of Inishmore. And I think it was the largest one in their fleet. And it done Dublin to Holyhead and Rosslare to Pembroke, which is in Wales. So it would have 1,500 passengers. It could take 362 cars and then 534 berths, which I had to look up because I didn't know what that meant. But it means like, yeah, like beds, like sleeping quarters. So I imagine obviously some of these are for staff, for the crew, and then the others were probably like you'd pay extra so that you could have a bed, like and sleep during the night of the travel. So on Monday, the 19th of September 1994, Michael was on board and he worked as the projectionist. So they had, like a theatre, like a cinema. And it was obviously just something for them to kind of keep passengers amused during the journey. So they played one film at 8:30 and then another one at 10:30. So the film at 8:30 was played, Michael played it, and that was it. And then the film was supposed to be shown for 10:30 and it wasn't. And Michael wasn't there. And funnily enough, how the alarm was actually raised was because a passenger had lent his newspaper to Michael. It's such a thing, like nowadays that just wouldn't really be a thing. Obviously back then it was a newspaper, and you probably couldn't get another one, so you wanted it back. So he had lent it to Michael, and then roughly around 10:30, he went to like the cruise office to ask for Michael because he wanted his newspaper back. Whereas you'd just be like, I can just look it up on my phone. But back then it was like, no, I need to read the news. Like I need my newspaper. So they obviously, said they'd go look for him. So they went. He wasn't obviously at the cinema. They went and checked his cabin and he wasn't there. So they had a bit of a look around, and then when they couldn't find him, the captain of the ship actually ordered an entire search of the ship to be done. So in fairness, they acted very quickly, because like that on the cruise ships, a lot of the time they're like, no, it's not that big a deal. They're probably just here or there or something, and they won't kind of raise the alarm. But here the alarm was raised straight away. It was like, no, where's Michael? And perhaps maybe because the fact that it's not a cruise, it's a ferry, it's a lot smaller. So, you know, maybe it is a case of there's only so much places he could be, so it's a worry then if he's not in that limited amount of space. Now, different articles say, like some say that they like reached Pembroke at like, you know, 12:30, like midnight, and then others say that they, you know, docked at 11:30 a.m. So I don't know, is it a case that they kind of arrive in but they don't let people leave until the morning? I'm not really, like, I don't really know, but that's, it's not like we're talking about 1:30 and 2:30. That's a very big window for an error, so I'm not really sure, to be honest. However, when they did dock, all the cars were searched. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was straight away. No one was allowed to leave until the cars and everything were searched. And then again, still no sign of Michael. The Welsh Coast Guard was notified immediately, and so they actually began a search of the waters and stuff. The Gardaí in Wexford Garda Station were also notified back there. Like, a full operation took place. So the Milford Haven lifeboats, the Air and Sea Rescue from RAF North Devon, and the Irish Marine Services all searched the sea, you know, kind of around the route that the boat would have taken, and there was no sign of Michael. They did put out an Interpol black notice, and DNA would later be taken from family members to be put into the database. So when I say I don't have a lot to talk about in terms of an investigation, it's not as a criticism. It's just they done as much as they could do, I think, you know. So his last, you know, known appearance. So at around 10:30, it is said that he was seen walking with a colleague, you know, on board. Nothing is kind of said more about this though. So I don't know about the colleague. What did the colleague say they done then? Did they say they split up because he went off to do the film? You know, or was nothing said? Because I kind of feel like that's a bit dodgy if nothing follows up on that. However, then another kind of source would say that he was last seen around that time heading towards his crew cabin downstairs. His cabin was searched, and it said that his wash bag, quote, his belongings, and his denim jacket were there. So by all his belongings, I think they have to mean like his wallet and everything was still there. Surely they'd have said if his wallet, you know, like your wallet's kind of a significant thing in this, so I'm sure they would have said if that was missing. I would hope so. Colleagues all said that he was in good form that day, but again, I kind of keep being drawn back to the colleague who he was walking with. Could that be the colleague then who said, yeah, no, I seen him walking towards his crew, you know, his cabin? But then why not say that? Why not put that all as one thing instead of this happened and then this happened? Michael had worked with the BNI and then Irish ferries for 9 years. He had done the route, you know, hundreds of times. Like, he had done it over and over and over. It is said that he was not depressed. Now, I always find this hard because when people say that, because as I'm sure you all know, we don't know what goes on in other people's minds. So sometimes someone might not appear overly depressed for you to know, or they haven't told someone that they're, you know, depressed or suffering from depression or seeing someone or whatever. A lot of people are very good at hiding their real self. So just because he appeared not to be depressed does not mean that he was not suffering with depression or, you know, something else in his life. As I said, there's not a lot of information on this. The next kind of thing on it is when it was on Crime Call in 2019, because it was the 25th anniversary. So his sister, Mary Ramsey, was actually on the Crime Line episode. And so she spoke about how he was very close to their parents. Their parents were both still alive and in the same house. They still had the same phone number. That he now had a granddaughter who was 16 at the time. So she's obviously, you know, she's now becoming an adult. And so Mary says, quote, "It's okay to come home or to get in touch." In an appeal, people who were on Slattery's coach tour from coaches from Cork were asked to get in touch because these had then gone on the ferry, so they were hoping they might have remembered something, but I don't think anything came from this. Now, it did say that I think, I don't know if it was after the appeal, but in 2019 it said that they were following up new lines of inquiry. So I mean, it's only 3 years later, so hopefully something is being done. You would think either something malicious happened, like nefarious, that, you know, he fell overboard, he jumped overboard, or he was pushed overboard. You know, they're kind of like the standard things. But they never seemed to, it never seems to kind of go that way. From what I gather from the sources, it doesn't seem to be that kind of line of inquiry. And as I said, Mary, Mary says, so much time has passed, he may feel like he can get in touch now. So I do think that they believe it was more so a case of he left, he disappeared, of his own accord. And if it is, people have the right to do that. Now, he did leave behind, 3 children and his wife and all his other family and friends who loved him. His sister said that his friends, still think about him and that they would ask, is there any news? Is there any updates and stuff like this? But again, like as I said, we don't know what goes through people's heads. So for whatever reason, he thought that he needed to leave. Maybe hopefully, if that is the case, that he would get in touch, even just to say, I'm alive, I'm okay, I'm happy. But my little mystery head then is also kind of wondering how did he disappear? Because like all the cars were searched, everything was searched. He couldn't get off before they landed, like before they docked. So he would have had to have someone help him. Like someone would have had to hide him or look the other way while he went, like I don't think it could have just been him. And so if someone did help him, maybe they should come forward and just let people know, yeah, this is what happened. I don't know. And as we know, they searched the sea and stuff like that, and nothing was ever found. Although we also know that the sea is very unpredictable. Decades later, bodies have shown up. Because it was closer to Wales at that time, it could be that he would show up in Wales or Scotland. And if that is the case, hasn't done so far. Like they said, they have the DNA in the database, so if he ever is found, they'll be able to find him. Yeah, like I don't know. It's this one is a real conundrum, like, because they're really the only 2 possibilities. He ended up in the water, or he left. Let's say, because even if something something bad happened to him, no one was getting off with a dead body when there was all that searching being done. So it would have had to be a case that he ended up in the water. And the only way I think he could have gotten off the boat is if it was by his own accord. And I don't know, like how could you get off? I don't know how you get off without anybody seeing you. Especially when, like as I say, it's not like the case of Amy Bradley on a cruise ship where they just let people leave. They were like, and then people left. So she could have been taken off or something, whatever happened could have been seen before they'd done anything. Whereas here, the only way off was by by going through the searches where they were searching. So I don't really know. But I wanted to cover it, and I was hoping, I had kind of been keeping it because I had been hoping I was going to find something else. And then eventually I just kind of felt like I had to accept that is it. There is no other information to find on it. But as I said, it's only been a couple of years since the appeal, and the Guardian did say they're following up new lines of inquiry. So let's hope if it's a case that he is alive and well, that he will just get in touch with his parents even, You don't even have to, if it's a case of not wanting to kind of go through all that. You can just ring the guards. Like, you're an adult, so you can just ring the guards and be like, listen, my name is Michael Farrell and I just want to let my family know that I am okay, I'm alive and I'm happy. And I'm in the UK, I'm in wherever. And hopefully if it's a case that, he ended up in the water, that hopefully he would be found soon and that they could, bring him home. Yeah, so that is today's case. Sorry it's so short, but again, as I said, it's just only so much you can do with the information. Let me know what you think. What would you lean towards? He ended up in the water or he did get out? If there's more information that I didn't say, like maybe there is some other way to get off the ship, if you've ever worked on the ships or you just know a bit more about them, please let me know. Let me know what you think of the video itself. And yeah, thank you again for all your support, your likes and comments. If you know someone who does like true crime and they don't watch me, maybe be like, hey, watch Casey, why don't you watch her? But yeah, we will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.